Good afternoon, and thank you for attending today's webinar on transitioning to retirement. We'll give everyone a few moments to join the webinar, and we will be commencing shortly. So my name is James Tan, and I am the Member Account Specialist with Brighter Super. A main part of my role is to guide our valued members towards a comfortable retirement by giving them a better understanding of what they can do with their superannuation. Now, by the end of this webinar, we'll aim to give you some of the tools to get you on track for ideal retirement. I'll be asking you some questions as we go through the webinar to help you get a better understanding of the content. Now, I am joined today by my colleague Christine Howard, who will be monitoring your questions in the chat this evening.
Hi, thanks, James. Good evening, everyone. I'm looking forward to answering your questions that you might have. Just a reminder to send these questions through the Q&A feature on your screen at any point during the presentation. Thank you, James.
Thanks, Christine. Now, Brighter Super does acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we are meeting and pay our respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. We do acknowledge and celebrate the continuation on a living culture that has a unique role in this region. Now, it is important to understand that the information and examples contained in the presentation are of general nature and have been prepared without taking into account your individual objectives, financial situations, or needs. It is important when making decisions about your super options that you do obtain the relevant product disclosure statements and the target market determination and consider your own personal circumstances. Now, you can access these documents and the financials guide from the Brighter Super website. Now, today's presentation will run for about 45 minutes. Now, as many of you have submitted questions already, we have tried to incorporate these into the presentation. And as Christine did mention, you are more than welcome to use our Q&A feature during our presentation today, which we will aim to answer directly as well. Now, should we have time for questions at the end, we will try to answer as many as possible as well. So we will be running some poll questions throughout today's presentation. So when these questions do pop up on the screen, please just click an answer that is appropriate to you. Now, before we move on to our main subject, I would like to take the opportunity to briefly explain who we are. Now, the merger between LGIA Super and Energy Super, plus the acquisition of SPSL, has enabled us to increase our size and scale. Yet, we remain committed to investing in those personalized member services that you know and enjoy. Now, we do serve over 250,000 member accounts with over 30 billion in funds under management. We are also ranked in the top 5 in our peer super ratings for the financial year of 2023. Now, let's talk about retirement planning. Now, one of the most common questions around retirement planning is, how much may you need to retire? Now, if you're not sure how much you may need to retire, the ASPA retirement standards is one guide to start with. So what is ASPA? Now, ASPA is the Association of Super Funds of Australia, which regularly surveys retirees who have paid off the mortgage and are aged over 65. And they do ask them what they are spending money on. Now, from that research, they've identified 2 types of lifestyles in retirement, what they may call a modest and a comfortable. Now, for retirees living on a modest lifestyle, it's probably going to be a fairly conservative type. Now, based on ASPA's research, they've defined a modest lifestyle, which may include the following. So takeaways and the occasional cheap eats, infrequent domestic short breaks, basic private health insurance, or owning a cheaper or more basic car. Now, it is unlikely there would be money to travel overseas, and social activities would be closer to home. Now, take a minute to think about how much you're currently spending on your own lifestyle and how it compares to the above. Now, these figures are updated on a quarterly basis. So what does a comfortable lifestyle look like? So most members that I assist are looking forward to a lifestyle with a few more options than what we previously stated. Now, based on what ASPO's research shows, they've defined the comfortable lifestyle, which may include any of the following. So annual domestic and occasional overseas travel. So when we say occasional overseas travel, every 7 years or so. Social activities, including eating out, and that could happen anywhere between 2 to 3 times per week. Maintaining a vehicle and home, and having that mid-level private medical insurance. Now, again, take a moment to think about what type of retirement lifestyle you are aiming for. And remember, it's not always how much money you have, it's how you manage it, which is why early action is vital. Now, the good news is you can choose to retire whenever it suits you. However, there are rules to when you may access your superannuation. So to access your super, you must have met what they call preservation age, which is anywhere between 55 and 60, depending on your date of birth. Now, we'll take a bit of a closer look at this shortly. Now, you can access your super as a lump sum, as a pension, or a combination of these when you permanently retire after reaching your preservation age, reach age 60 and then stop working or change jobs, or turn 65, whether you're working or not. Now, the amount of tax you pay depends on your age as well at the time you withdraw money from super, and types of contributions paid in, pre or post-tax, plus the amount being paid out, and whether you are taking it as a lump sum or a pension. So we'll jump to our first question of the night. So do you know your preservation age? Some great answers there. Perfect. So it does look like we've had quite a wide range of answers on this question, and most of you do know it, that age. So generally, your super is tax-free when paid to you after you turn the age of 60. Now, let's have a look at when you may be able to access your super. So referring back to the poll question, the information on your screen is called the preservation age, and it is set by the Australian government and is based on your date of birth. Now let's take a moment to confirm yours. Remember, there are two parts to accessing super. Firstly, you must have reached your preservation age, which is between 55 to 60. And secondly, you need to have met a condition of release. So let's have a bit of a closer look at this. Now, as super is primarily designed to give you income in retirement, there are specific rules relating to when you can access your money. Now, first is what they call permanently retired. So you've finished work and don't intend to return back to the workforce in the future. Number two, you cease in employment on or after age 60. So you can access your funds from 60 onwards if you leave your employer and go to another job, full-time, part-time, casual, etc. Or when you do turn 65. So upon your 65th birthday, you've got full access to your super regardless of your working status. Now, please note, however, this does not apply to defined benefit accounts. Now, once you've reached preservation age, you also do have the option of setting up a transition to retirement income stream. However, if you have a defined benefit account, it is worth having a chat to us as conditions may apply. Now, this allows you to use your super to supplement your income, reduce the amount you work, or as a tax minimalization strategy. We will go into this a bit more later. So let's have a chat on how much tax you might have to pay. Now, there are two main tax components within your superannuation, what they call the taxable and tax-free. Withdrawals from your super come from these tax components proportionately. Now, the tax-free component is always tax-free, as tax has already been paid. The taxable component may be taxed and depends on your age when you do make the withdrawal. If you take a lump sum payment between the preservation age and 59, it is tax-free for the first $235,000. Now, with amounts over $235,000, there may be tax of 17%, which includes the Medicare levy. If you choose to open an income stream, also known as a pension account, between your preservation age and 59, then regular payments are taxed at your marginal tax rate with a 15% offset. Now, once you do reach 60, withdrawals from both components are tax-free. It's important to note that both the tax and tax-free components still exist when over 60, and there can be potential tax impacts on your death benefit, regardless of your age. So when in the accumulation stage and in a transition to retirement pension product, investment earnings can be taxed up to 15%. When you open an income stream pension account, tax on your investment earnings are tax-free. It can get complex, which is why it's often a great idea to seek financial advice before proceeding to make sure that you're making the right decision. So, what is a transition to retirement? So, the transition to retirement is an income stream product with Brighter Super, and we call these our pension accounts, and they are designed to give you an income in retirement. So let's have a bit of a closer look at that transition to retirement pension account, also known as the TTR, in a little bit more detail. Now, as you are still working, your employer continues to put money into your accumulation account. Now, members can open a TTR pension account when they have met their preservation age, but not met a full condition of release. By doing this, it is important to remember that if you are below the age of 60, there may be tax payable on the income you receive. Now, many members choose to set up a TTR once they reach 60, as income from super is then tax-free. Now, a transition to retirement pension account can supplement your income leading up to retirement or help you reduce the amount of tax you pay while increasing your retirement savings. You could use a transition to retirement pension account to do one of the following. So you could use it to work less. Now, the transition to retirement account would help you to cut back your work hours or take a lower paying job. You can receive regular pension payments to supplement the income you have lost by working less. Secondly, it could help reduce tax and increase your super. Now, if you are age 60 or above, you can receive tax-free income from the transition to retirement pension account. At the same time, you can salary sacrifice some of your salary into your accumulation account, subject to the concessional contribution caps, where it will be taxed at 15% on entry to the fund. So you could effectively pay 15% tax on the proportion of your salary that you can contribute to your super, rather than the tax rate you currently pay when you receive the money as salary. Now, this strategy can be also used if you have reached your preservation age, but are still under the age of 60, though some tax may be payable on your pension income. Number 3, reduce debt. By reducing additional income from a transition to retirement account without changing jobs or increasing your work hours. And number 4 is your estate planning. So TTR can assist with future estate planning needs. And remember, if you do decide to access your super prior to retirement, you need to consider the impacts this may have on your future superannuation balance and retirement lifestyle. As always, we do recommend talking to a financial advisor to ensure this will meet your personal objectives, both now and in the future. So let's have a look at how you actually go about setting up this transition to retirement pension account. So to start off, you will need a minimum of $50,000 to start a Brighter Super TTR pension. You can choose from a wide range of investment options, ranging from lower to higher risk. There are single asset classes and diversified investment options. Next, you decide how you would like to receive your income. It's currently a minimum of 4% and a maximum of 10% of your TTR balance, recalculated each 1st of July. Now, these payments can be made fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually based on your needs. If you're still working and your employer is still making contributions on your behalf, you may be required to retain your accumulation account. If you are retaining your accumulation account, you must leave the required minimum balance in your accumulation, which is currently set at $8,000. Now, once you let us know you have stopped working or you turn 65 and you have therefore met a full condition of release, your account will then become a full pension account and withdrawal limits will no longer apply. For defined benefit members, it is a little bit more complex. As we mentioned earlier, it is best to maybe talk to one of the Brighter Super team members through a super health check if you are wanting more information. You will be given this opportunity at the end of today's presentation in a follow-up email in coming days as well. So we've had a bit of a chat around how to set up a transition to retirement account. So let's have a look at how that income stream may work for a member. So let's take on our example of Shane. Now, Shane is 60 years old and is looking to ease his way into retirement. Now, he has talked to his employer and is looking to reduce his working hours to 3 days a week instead. Shane also needs to maintain a similar level of income that he currently has. Now, Shane gets that financial advice and decides to set up a transition to retirement pension, which will allow him to draw tax-free income as he is over 60. Now, generally speaking, Shane may be able to maintain similar levels of tax income while also being able to reduce his working hours. Remember, everyone's situation is different, so we do recommend to seek financial advice on what is best for you. So what about when you are ready to start your own retirement? Then what? So if you are considering retirement, a pension account may be an option for you. Now, people retire at different ages for different reasons. Some leave the paid workforce early due to ill health or because they have money to do so, while others continue to work long after they can access their super. Now, once you reach preservation age and meet a condition of release, you've got the option to access your super as a lump sum, pension, or combination of these methods. So let's have a look at how the pension account works in a little bit more detail. Now, if you would like a regular income and want an investment that provides tax-free investment earnings, then the pension account gives you that flexibility to choose how much income you would like and how often you would like to receive it. Now, it is important to remember that a pension account may be used if you have met your preservation age, plus a condition of release or turn 65 and still working. So let's go through some of the reasons members open a pension account. Now, this could be a member who has fully retired and wishes to now receive a regular income from the super. This also allows members to access lump sums to pay down debt, renovations, or that holiday they've always dreamed of. Now, alternatively, you could have opened a pension account and gone back to the workforce. In this scenario, you may wish to still retain your pension account, which pays your regular income and has tax-free earnings. You can still use that extra income to assist your living expenses and continue to draw lump sums whilst you receive a salary and super guarantee payments from your employer into your accumulation account. Now, for those members who have reached 65 and are still working, they can also access that pension account. to be able to get a tax-free regular income, lump sums, and enjoy tax-free earnings on those investments. So to summarize the diagram as on screen, you can see that you could be receiving income from both an employer and your pension account, along with super guaranteed contributions from your employer. Now, it is also important to note that you can close a pension account and roll this back into your accumulation account, should you not require the income from the pension account if your circumstances do change in the future. Like the transition to retirement product, if you are in a defined benefit, it can be a little more complex. So let's have a chat to get you some more information. Now, once again, let's have a bit of a look at that process to set up the pension account. Now, for many members, a superannuation income stream is a convenient and tax-effective way to access their money. Remember, you must have reached your preservation age and met a condition of release to access your super. Now, these are the steps to set up that pension account. So the first step is to set up that pension with a minimum of 50,000, with the current maximum transfer balance cap of 1.9 million, as at the 1st of July, 2023. Step 2, decide how you would like to invest your pension. Now, this can change your investment strategy at any time. Step 3, select the amount you would wish to receive each year. Now, this amount needs to meet or exceed the minimum drawdown, which is recalculated each year on the 1st of July. And step 4, selecting that frequency of your payment. You've got full access to super once you've retired. If you move money into an income stream, you must take out a certain amount each financial year. Now let's look at that minimum amount you will need to draw each year. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, you will be required to withdraw a minimum amount each year, and this will increase over time as you do get older. Now, the minimum depends on the age, and as you can see on this slide, it does vary. So let's take, for example, a member who wants to establish an income stream with 100,000 at the age of 63. Now, what this means is that they must withdraw at least $4,000 each financial year. Now, this minimum is recalculated each financial year on the balance as at the 1st of July. Now, once established, a member may not add contributions under federal government rules. Once meeting a condition of release, partial withdrawals may be made from an income stream at any time. Apart from the convenience of an income stream, there are also tax concessions that may apply. So let's recap the ways in which you may access your super when eligible. So there are 3 account options when considering moving into your retirement phase. So the first one was to retain your current accumulation account. So you've got investment options to choose from, and you can make withdrawals and also contribute subject to those contribution rules. Now, there are tax concessions on preservation age prior to 60 and no tax on withdrawals after age 60. Investment earnings can be taxed up to 15%. TTR, or that transition to retirement, where access to your super is through what they call that income stream while still working. Now, you do still have those investment options to choose from, and you must withdraw a minimum of 4% up to the maximum of 10%. You cannot make a lump sum withdrawal until you make a full condition of release. Now, those investment earnings are taxed up to 15%. And the third option we talked about was that pension account. Upon meeting conditions of release, including preservation age or after age 65, you can draw an income as a pension account. Now, a minimum amount is still required annually, which is based on your age, and there is no maximum. You are able to withdraw a lump sum amount and enjoy tax-free investment earnings. You can choose which option or combination of options best suit your retirement. Now, personal advice can assist in helping your super last that distance. And Brighter Super does offer that personal advice service to our members. And more details about this will be provided later on in our slides. So for more information on that transition to retirement and pension products, please visit our website. Now, under the Resources tab, you'll find a section on forms and info sheets, where there is more information on both transition to retirement pension accounts and considering retirement info sheets. You may also find other useful documents here too. Additionally, our product disclosure statement is a good place to find further details about pension accounts. Over the next slides, I will now be taking you through some of the tools and calculators that we have available to help assist you in making decisions about your super. Now, often when I am talking to people about investment options, I am asked the question, what is the best way to invest my super? And as you could probably imagine, there is not one single investment option or profile that would fit everyone. In fact, there is a number of different things to consider when choosing the right risk profile for yourself. So what is a risk profile, you might ask? So a risk profile is an individual measure of how you feel about risk and return, keeping in mind that there will always be a trade-off between these two. It does take into account your tolerance to market falls, as well as your investment timeframes and desired return outcomes. Now, in a perfect world, we would all love high returns without any falls. However, generally speaking, the more risk you take, the better return you should expect over time. However, the greater chance of bigger swings in your investment value. So let's take on, for example, our growth investment or an aggressive investment, as this will generate a higher rate of return over long term. However, it is likely to fluctuate more during times of market volatility. What this means is that your investments may generate higher returns over time. However, it will generally lose more when the market dips and produce more frequent negative return years. Now, a conservative investment, on the other hand, is likely to have fewer negative return years overall and may not drop as far as in a more aggressive or growth investment during a downturn. However, with this said, the trade-off for a less riskier option is the return is expected to be lower over the long term. Now, understanding your risk profile and your investment returns is important to help better prepare market movements and make informed decisions. Now, the risk of being invested outside your risk profile is if you've invested too conservatively, you may be missing out on potential returns that you could have. And vice versa, if you invest too aggressively, you could see greater falls during market instability than you are actually comfortable with. Now, both of these scenarios do not result in optimal outcomes, so it is important that you know where you sit. Now, as a starting point, you can find our investment risk profile on the Brighter Super website under the Resources tab. Now, there are 8 questions that ask you how you feel about negative returns, what actions you may take given market instability, and your superannuation goals are. Now, after answering each question, it will then provide you with the results and some information about the type of investor you are based on these results and your responses. Now, when answering the questions, I would encourage you to consider the bigger picture, because when someone asks us how we feel about a negative return, we're all the same. None of us like to see that negative return. This, though, is where we understand and knowing your investment timeframes becomes quite relevant. So, for example, if you're in your 40s and still have at least 20 years away from being able to access your superannuation, a negative return generally may feel very different to someone who is in their 60s and thinking about retiring now or in the next year or so. However, it is important to note that even if you are close to retirement, your investment timeframes may be longer than you think. So retirement isn't necessarily a line in the sand when you're no longer invested into super. You may choose to keep your money in super or move it into a pension account where it is still invested. This can help to fund your retirement over the next 20 to 30 years. Now, once you do have completed that risk profile questionnaire, you will be provided information around your profile to help you make an investment choice. Now, it is important to note, it does not provide a recommendation on where to invest your superannuation. It's just information to help you make that choice. Now, if you do wish to receive some help on finding the best investment for you, you can book an appointment with one of our intra-fund advisors. Now, this type of advice is included in your membership fees, and the initial conversation is usually done over the phone and takes anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes. The advisor will do the same type of process with you, asking you a series of questions to determine your risk profile. And what can be helpful is that they will tailor it to you and answer any specific questions you may have about your scenario. Now, importantly, they will also make a recommendation as to where to invest your superannuation based on the results of that risk profile, and will provide what they call a statement of advice so that you have a written resource to refer to that explains your risk profile and then investment mix that is being recommended. Now, as well as any changes to the investment fees as a result of that advice. Now, this is a great opportunity to move on to our next poll question. So have you actually used our investment advice service before? Great. So it looks like a majority of you haven't actually used that service. And for those who may not know, we offer quite a wide range of personal advice options suited to individual members' needs. If you are looking for that more specific information about making contributions or investment strategies, our intra-fund advice team are here to help. And it is, as I mentioned, at no additional cost, as it is included in the cost of your administration fees with Brighter Super. Now, we do also offer more comprehensive personal advice services, which we will discuss in a bit more detail later in the presentation. Now, we also do have a tool on our website that models your retirement and how you're tracking toward that retirement goal. As with all modeling tools, it is based on metrics that may change over time. So we cannot use this as a matter of fact. However, it does provide some estimate on how you are tracking and what may be achievable. Now, depending on what your level of assets are and how much you need to fund your desired retirement style, you may only need to invest your funds in investments with lower levels of risk. On the other hand, you may be on the opposite end and need to reevaluate your financial position, goals, or risk tolerance in order to meet those goals. For most people, we need to take on some risk to hit our long-term goals. And the retirement income calculator can give you some guidance for that. There is an option to toggle between both your pre-retirement and post-retirement investment options. So you can play around with that to see what difference it could make in your retirement income. Now, if you are getting close to retirement, particularly if you are already over the age of 60, it may be worth getting in touch with a financial advisor to discuss your pre-retirement strategies that may assist you in meeting your retirement goals. We are able to tailor your investments to your own individual circumstances to ensure that you are taking the right steps in finding that balance between risk and return. So there are two types of advice that may be beneficial at this point. So the first one being what we call scaled advice, and this is personal advice about your retirement within Brighter Super. Now, fees will vary on the type and complexity of personal advice you require. You will be able to deduct a portion of these fees from your Brighter Super account. Now, topics that do get covered in this type of appointment is the adequacy and commencing a Brighter Super account based on that pension, transition to retirement, in determining those Centrelink entitlements. Now, these appointments are delivered over the phone. Now, the other type of advice, which I have briefly touched on, was comprehensive advice. Now, this does provide advice to our members and non-members about superannuation and retirement strategies, both with VitaSuper and other superannuation funds. Now, your advice can include your spouse who may hold the super with another fund. Advice can also be provided on external investments outside of super. Now, this type of advice is generally the most helpful when you are reaching a milestone birthday, like 60, 65, or age pension, or are starting to think seriously about retirement. Now, as mentioned, for both scaled and comprehensive advice, there will be advice fees charged, which may be deducted from your VitaSuper account. Now, for further information on our advice services and what may suit you, please visit the advice tab on our website. Now, to achieve your goal of comfortable retirement, there are some simple steps to take from here. So thinking about what you are looking to achieve, and it all begins with a plan. So 1, what are you looking to achieve and what is your goal? So the purpose of superannuation is to give you that income in retirement. However, how will a TTR help you get there? Number 2, understanding that tax consideration. So if you are looking to set up a pension, or you are at 60 or after 60, it is pretty simple in relation to tax on withdrawal. But what about salary sacrifice or estate planning consideration? This is where personal advice can be invaluable. 3, by accessing your super now, will you be better off or worse off in retirement? Now, this depends on your personal circumstance and what your objectives are. And this does bring up our 4th step, to seek further help as needed. Now, to ensure you are on track, please do contact us and book in for what we call a super health check, or arrange an appointment with one of our financial advisors. So what makes VitaSuper different to our other competing superannuation funds? It is our commitment to personal service. Now, we do have a dedicated team of member account specialists here to support you. And as you can see, both mine and Christine's photos on screen as we form this team. Now, if you would like to talk to one of our team one-on-one for more general information about your superannuation, why not book in for that super health check? These are 30-minute meetings at no additional cost and can cover a range of general topics about your superannuation. Now, our team services our members all over Queensland with face-to-face services as well as digital channels. So you can get some general guidance on the range of superannuation topics, no matter where you live or work. And once you've got that general knowledge, the next step is to get tailored personal advice. And remembering with our super health checks, you don't have to be a member to be able to book in. Now, as we mentioned, we do offer that wide range of personal advice options suited to an individual member's needs. If you are looking for specific information about making contributions or investment strategies, our intra-fund advice are here to help. Now, that could be booking in for an over-the-phone meeting with a financial advisor at no additional cost. Now, as we did discuss earlier, we do also offer both scaled and comprehensive personal advice service. Now, this service does take into complete view of your financial situation to tailor advice to suit your individual needs. Now, this is a face-to-face meeting with one of our advice team in Brisbane and various regions over Queensland. Appointments may be also arranged by digital channels. Now, the cost will depend on the complexity of the advice, and this cost may be deducted from your VitaSuper accumulation accounts. Now, 2 of the most common questions members ask as they approach retirement are, how much super do I need to retire? And do I have enough superannuation? A retirement health check with one of our financial advisors will help you answer these questions. And look, it's never too early to start planning for retirement. And as I always say, it's better never too late sorry, let me start that again. It's better to start, when planning for retirement, you don't want to be starting at the finish line. So talk to us to find out how we can help. Now, webinars like this are a great way to get specific information on a variety of topics. Now, this is not the only webinar that we have or will be holding. So go to our website or scan the QR code on screen to find out what is coming up. Now, make sure you check this page regularly, as we are often adding new dates and topics. And if you do register for any of our webinars in the future, regardless if you attend, you will receive a copy of the recording the day following the webinar. So we have tried to answer questions throughout the webinar tonight, but I'll invite Christine back on screen to answer any questions that couldn't get answered in the Q&A chat.
Oh, thank you so much, James. I found that really interesting, especially going through the different types of advice that we cover. So thank you for that. I did try and answer most of the questions throughout the presentation. However, there was one in regards to just reiterating in regards to, is the full amount totally tax-free after 60? And I know James did go through that in the presentation, but I just want to reiterate again that, you know, once you turn 60, it is tax-free on those withdrawals once you've met your other condition of release, if you do meet that condition. So yeah, just to reiterate that, but thank you so much. Most of the other questions I had answered during the presentation. So thank you so much there, James, for covering that off. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for that, Christine. So once again, I have brought up our super health check slide for those who may decide that they would like to book in to have a chat with one of our team. Now, thanks again for taking the time to come along and attend our webinar. So one last question before we do bring it to close. Overall, how satisfied were you with today's webinar? No need. Perfect. And when you've done that, thank you so much for attending today's webinar, and we do hope to speak with you again soon.